Hi, my name is Emily Detmar, and today I will be talking to you about the career of a cognitive behavioral therapist. For this, I was not able to speak to anyone that works in this field, but there's locally a place where they work and they're employed called Burrell Behavioral Health. And they also have a website, which is www.burrellcenter, B-U-R-R-E-L-L, center.com, where you can find out more information about what they do. The working environment of a cognitive behavioral therapist depends greatly on what they choose to focus on. There are many areas that they can focus on. One is teaching, one is research, and one is seeing patients. If they're seeing patients and treating them, most likely they will work in a mental health facility. That could be a hospital. It could be their own private practice that they just choose to work in, or it could just be a mental health clinic in the community. If someone opens up their own practice doing this, they could make it as flexible as they want it to be, see as many patients as they felt necessary, and that could be a family-friendly option. Another area that they could work is in education. They could teach and be a professor and teach other students learning about mental health issues and how to help others. This would mean they'd work in a university or maybe be an online instructor as well. Another area that they could work is also in the research and development. They could work in research facilities found on some university campuses. They could also work in other mental health facilities that focus on research. In the research field, they would work with learning better how people's brains function and work, and what therapies work best for people based on what their needs are. Some of the stressors that cognitive behavioral therapists might face if they're working with patients would be how well the patient is responding to treatment. Cognitive behavioral therapists collaborate a lot with their clients. They work together with them. So if their client is not responding well or not getting along with them very well, that could be a big source of stress for them. Also, if they are focusing in the area of research, they could face big deadlines or the results of their research not turning out how they would hope, and those are stressors that they might face in that aspect of the work. Some of the benefits that people would get if they were cognitive behavioral therapists would greatly depend on where they employed. If they work for a hospital or for a mental health clinic somewhere in the community, most likely they would get full salary with a 401k and health insurance. Same if they worked at a university, probably. If they were self-employed, however, the health insurance and the retirement benefits would not be there. They would be responsible for those on their own. Some of the job tasks that a cognitive behavioral therapist has are to teach clients to solve problems by modifying negative or a failing way of thinking or feeling and how they behave, to help modify those behaviors to bring them more success in their life. They collaborate a lot with clients. They work with them and help them develop plans to help them. They discover patterns of thinking that can impact their feelings and their behavior. They might encourage their client to journal what they've been doing or focus on changing certain behaviors that will help them to become more successful in their life. The requirements for being a cognitive behavioral therapist, first of all, you definitely need a bachelor's degree. Usually it's preferred that you have one in social work or psychology, marriage and family studies, anything like that will give you a strong foundation so that you can learn more about how the mind works. It's recommended you take coursework in behavioral and cognitive psychology. You also need a master's degree in a mental health field like psychiatry, psychology, counseling, social work, or therapy. And you also need to be certified. You need to be certified in cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT. In order to have that, you need to have CBT training. It's a specialized training that can be quite intense. It's required before a therapist is permitted to apply for certification. The training courses are approved by the NACBT, which is the National Organization for Cognitive Behavioral Therapy. The Academy of Cognitive Therapy requires a minimum of 40 hours of specific education in the chosen field that they are in. The training programs are generally very intensive. Usually you need a pre-specified amount of supervised cognitive therapy time before you will be allowed to be certified. That is a national certification. In addition to that, some states also require additional certification. That will just depend on what state you're planning to be employed in. The salary for a cognitive behavioral therapist varies depending on what your level of education is and what area that you enter into. For example, if you had a master's degree, then you might look around $45,000 or $50,000 for how much you might make if you were a cognitive behavioral therapist. Now, if you have a doctorate, that salary goes up to $75,000 to $80,000 a year. If you were to teach in university, the average salary for that's around $74,000 a year, and that as well, I think, would probably be a doctorate. And also, if you were in the the research field, that's more lucrative. You could make as much between $100,000 and $110,000. But again, it depends on the facility you work at. It depends on where you're living. Usually in more metropolitan areas, a bigger city, your salary would be higher as well than if you were in a more rural area. Something that might be, even though you can have a master's degree to be a cognitive behavioral therapist, most people go on to continue to get their doctorate. Like a lot of these fields, they require continual education. Every year you will be continued to take educational classes to increase your knowledge so that you will be on top of the field. I think this seems like a really great profession that would be interesting and that could help people a lot. Thanks for watching.